With the first pick in the 2011 NBA Draft,
the Cleveland Cavaliers select
LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Bennett,
Andrew Wiggins.
Since 2003, the Cleveland Cavaliers have picked first overall 4 times in the past 15 NBA drafts. With these picks, they selected LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Bennett, and Andrew Wiggins. Now, how is this possible? How did the Cleveland Cavaliers get 4 first overall picks in 15 years? Well, it's because of a little thing called the NBA Draft Lottery. The NBA Draft Lottery is an annual event held by the NBA in which teams who have missed the NBA playoffs that previous year participate in a lottery process to determine the draft order in the upcoming NBA Draft. The lottery winner would win the first selection in the NBA Draft. The NBA Draft Lottery started in 1985. This was a new concept in the NBA, because in every single NBA draft prior, the top pick had been decided by a coin flip. The lottery was made to keep teams from tanking for the first overall pick in the upcoming NBA Draft. However, if the lottery stops teams from tanking, then how have the Cleveland Cavaliers gotten 4 first overall picks in the past 15 NBA drafts? Today, I'm going to be exposing the NBA for its deepest and darkest secret. Why and how the NBA Draft Lottery has always been rigged. What is your opinion on NBA teams tanking for draft picks?
I think that teams shouldn't tank as often as they do, or at least not make it as obvious.
I think there's definitely evidence that it happens. I think it's totally fair. It's a tactic for rebuilding your team.
When teams make it really obvious that they're tanking, it just kind of makes the sport not as fun to watch.
Like for the New York Knicks, even though they had Kristaps Porzingis, they still only won so many games. He was a star. They could have won more if they wanted to, but they didn't.
What is your opinion on the NBA Draft Lottery?
I think it's a good way to split up the picks. I think it's easily taken advantage of, but it's sometimes I feel like it can be rigged.
I think that the draft lottery is kind of broken in several ways, and that the NBA keeps trying to do more things to try and prove that it's not rigged. And it just kind of makes more speculation as to the fact that it could be rigged.
Have you ever seen anything suspicious in the NBA draft?
I've been suspicious a few times, especially in the 2012 draft lottery, when the Charlotte Hornets had the worst record of all time and still did not get the top pick, which went to the New Orleans Pelicans, or the New Orleans Hornets at that point, who were owned by the league so that they could get Anthony Davis, the top prospect.
Yes, I have. In 1985, when Patrick Ewing was drafted by the Knicks, you could see cards in the wheel that they turned. The Knicks one was bent.
The 1985 NBA Draft Lottery, known to many as the Frozen NBA Draft, the Corner, or simply the Rigged Draft. The 1985 Draft Lottery was the first ever NBA Draft Lottery, and as you noticed, there was an envelope that got a little banged up in there.
Yep, there it was. The famous banged envelope, whatever you want to call it.
This is suspicious because every other envelope was placed in safely. Now, who's this guy? Well, this is David Stern. David Stern is the NBA commissioner, and he's the one that's going to be drawing the envelope that contains the number 1 pick in this NBA draft. Now, pay close attention to David Stern's head. You can obviously see that it's moving around in a circle, keeping an eye on one certain envelope. That envelope being the one with the bent corner. After the envelopes have been mixed up, David Stern approaches the ball and then lets out one deep breath. Why would he take such a deep breath? Maybe it's because he's worried. Maybe it's because his job depends on his next decision. David Stern grabs the envelope with the bent corner, which to nobody's surprise, contains the New York Knicks' #1 overall pick. So, the NBA's biggest market in New York gets the #1 pick and the best prospect in NBA history at that current point, Patrick Ewing. Now, I know what you're thinking, I can't base an entire NBA conspiracy on one event. But what if I told you if this wasn't the first time that this kind of event happened? What if it happened multiple times and something shady happened? Well, let me tell you the stories of Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, and Derrick Rose. Shaquille O'Neal was a dominant center for the LSU Tigers. This attention at LSU projected him as a top pick in the NBA draft. He was picked first overall by the new NBA expansion team, the Orlando Magic. It is said that the NBA used this NBA draft to get fans for its newest NBA franchise. After the season with Shaq, the Magic were pretty decent. They had the 13th best odds, but they still got the #1 draft pick, which they traded to the Golden State Warriors to select Penny Hardaway. Akron, Ohio native LeBron James is who we will talk about next. Coming straight out of high school, LeBron was seen as the top prospect in the 2003 NBA draft, and every NBA team wanted him. He could have been a potential franchise changer or just another solid NBA player. He was seen as the future of the NBA, and every team wanted him. After being scouted by almost every single NBA team and being seen as the potential #1 overall pick, LeBron was picked first overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers, his home team. However, he wasn't actually a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was a Chicago Bulls fan, which is the team that everyone thought he was going to go to, because the Chicago Bulls were the worst team that NBA season. However, they didn't win the lottery. Cleveland did. Cleveland had a decent NBA season in the previous season, but they were nowhere near the worst team in the NBA. So I think it's a little strange that LeBron James got drafted to his home team, well, his hometown team, when other teams were worse. Next, we have Derrick Rose. Now, Derrick Rose has a very similar situation to LeBron James. Derrick Rose was from Chicago, which means that he grew up a Chicago Bulls fan. As a kid, he always wanted to play for the Chicago Bulls, and ended up going to the University of Memphis. After a season at the University of Memphis, Derrick Rose enlisted for the NBA draft, which he was drafted first overall by, you guessed it, the Chicago Bulls. Now, here's the thing. How did the Chicago Bulls acquire the first overall pick? Well, guess what? They weren't the worst team in the NBA that season. They got the first pick through the lottery, where they selected the hometown kid, Derrick Rose. As you can see, now I have more evidence than just a simple bent envelope. I have an NBA team that is the new team getting the first overall pick and getting a generational talent, and 2 hometown kids getting drafted to hometown teams that ended up being NBA franchise changers. Now you can see that the NBA draft lottery is set up for these storylines to make franchises better. Would you change the NBA draft lottery in any way?
I think I would maybe revert back to the old way, but also there are a lot of ways that he was kind of unfair because everybody had the same odds at that point because you could just be pulled out at random. And I think it should kind of just be dependent on what the team's record is.
Do you think the NBA draft lottery is rigged?
I feel like it has been sometimes, but Adam Silver definitely has his favorites for teams, like the Cavs getting 5 picks and the Orlando Magic getting back-to-back firsts. Even the Lakers getting a lot of really good picks because they're a franchisable franchise. Yeah, I think it can be rigged sometimes, but for a good reason for Adam Silver.
So, who is the person that does this to the NBA draft lottery? Is it the commissioners, the GMs, the presidents, the media? Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I simply do not have enough evidence to know who rigs the NBA draft lottery. But I can tell you one thing. If history repeats itself, you'll be hearing this on June 20th, 2019.
With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select
Zion Williamson.